Assalamu alaikum. Your companion is the Qur'an. That is your sahib. In Surah An-Najm, chapter 53, he says, when Najmi idha hawa, the star when it goes down or when it sets, by the star when it goes down or when it sets, ma dalla sahibukum wa ma gawa. Meaning your companion does not get lost or go astray, and nor is seduced from the path of rushd or right guidance. And a lot of people think that when you read here, your companion, that it just refers to the Prophet Muhammad. And yes, in a way it can, but I think what we forget is that the Prophet Muhammad as a person, his duty was to convey the message. It wasn't the point for us to just get caught on the person. As he says in another place, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ, and Muhammad is not except a messenger. قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ, many messengers have passed away before him. أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انْقَلَبْتُمْ عَلَىٰ أَعْقَابِكُمْ, if he dies or is killed, will you turn away on, or will you turn around on your heels? So meaning, if you focus on him just as a person, if he dies or is killed, if you're just attached to him as a person, what will you do? But it's not just about his person, it's about what he conveyed. So even if we think of sahib in a certain way as meaning your companion, meaning the Prophet Muhammad, but he kind of molds into the Qur'an, right? Because that's what he's conveying. So in reality, your sahib is the Qur'an. And then we read after that, if we keep reading in Surah An-Najm, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى, and a lot of people translate this as he does not speak from his desires, meaning the Prophet. But وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى can also mean that your companion, the Qur'an, does not speak from desires. Because we also have to analyze that the word translated as speak here is يَنْطِقُ from nataqa. Okay? It could be said another way in Arabic. You could say يَتَكَلَّمْ, means speak, different things like that. But يَنْطِقُ is very, very purposeful here. And for those who might think that a book doesn't speak, we have to look at the other ayat in the Qur'an. Like for example, chapter 23 verse 62 says, وَلَدَيْنَا كِتَابٌ يَنْطِقُ بِالْحَقِّ, and with us is a book that speaks bil-haq, with truth. And I'm not even saying that this verse refers to the Qur'an, but what I'm just showing is that it's not a far stretch to think when we use the word yantiqu, to speak, that it could refer to a book. Another place, which is 45:29, says, هَذَا كِتَابُنَا يَنْطِقُ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْحَقِّ, this is our book which speaks upon you with haqq, with truth. So when he says here, مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى, your companion did not go astray nor was seduced from the right path. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى, nor does it speak from desires. It's not a far stretch to think that yantiqu is talking about the book itself, the Qur'an speaking. So subhanallah, the Qur'an is a sahib that speaks to you. The next verse says, in huwa illa wahyun yuha, it is only revelation that has been inspired. What does the it refer to? If you think that sahib, the companion, is only referring to the Prophet Muhammad here, what is it referring to? In huwa, it is only revelation that's inspired. So then you have to make some assumptions. You have to say, well, the it is referring to whatever was inspired to the Prophet Muhammad. But you can just as easily, and maybe even more simply, say that the huwa, the it here, refers to the sahib, which is the Qur'an. In huwa, the sahib, your sahib, the Qur'an, is only revelation that's been inspired. The next verse says, Allamahu shadidul quwa. So this is usually translated as the one mighty in power taught him. Allamahu, the who is usually translated as him. But we can also think about it as Allamahu, meaning shadidul quwa, the one mighty in power taught it, meaning taught the Qur'an. And this actually coincides really nicely with another verse in the Qur'an. Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an. Ar-Rahman, the one who, Ar-Rahman, he taught the Qur'an. So now when you go back and you put these verses together, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى عَلَّمَهُ شَدِيدُ الْقُوَى. So now this gives such a beautiful perception of the Qur'an. By the star when it sets, your companion, the Qur'an, does not get lost or go astray, nor does it get seduced from the right path, and it does not speak to you from desires. It speaks to you bil-haq, with reality, with knowledge. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. It is only revelation that's inspired. عَلَّمَهُ شَدِيدُ الْقُوَى. And the one who taught us this companion, this Qur'an, is the one who is strong in their powers, in his powers. So this is such a beautiful, beautiful way of thinking about the Qur'an, that it is your companion, right? That doesn't lead you astray, that doesn't allow you to be seduced from the right path, and was taught by the one who is mighty in his powers. So thinking about the Qur'an as a sahib, as a companion or a friend that accompanies you, is such a beautiful way of thinking about the Qur'an. And yes, the Qur'an does talk to you. In the beginning of Surah Al-Anbiya, in chapter 21, he says, لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, which means we have sent down to you a book in which is your dhikr. What does your dhikr mean? So dhikr could mean to mention something, to remember something. So in which is dhikrukum, is your mention. Like this book mentions you, it reflects you. It speaks to you, it tells you who you are. So when we go to the Qur'an and we look at even how we understand the Qur'an sometimes is a mirror of who we are. So I heard this statement one time I thought was really beautiful. Someone said, sometimes you think the Qur'an, you think you're reading the Qur'an, but the Qur'an is actually reading you. So if you go to the Qur'an and you see, for example, harshness and hatred and rigidity and all this type of stuff in the Qur'an, that's a reflection of you. So the reason you're seeing that is you're projecting that onto the Qur'an. And likewise, if you go to it and you see compassion and mercy and tolerance, that's reflecting your mindset. So the Qur'an reflects who you are. So it truly is your companion that speaks to you. Fihi dhikrukum. In it is your mention. Afala ta'qilun. Will you not understand? Will you not use this book to understand yourself and understand the world? It is the companion that will never get tired of talking to you. It will talk to you any time of day you want. And you can talk to it, you can engage with it. And what a beautiful friend and companion the Qur'an is. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.